Flying a plane sounds like the most glamorous job in the world, right? On the surface, it involves clear skies, ironed uniforms with sharp gator lines, and interesting layovers in Paris, Dubai, and Tokyo. Some people also picture flying as an activity where autopilot does all the work. Isn't that cute? Spoiler alert, flying planes isn't all smooth sailing. It involves waking up at odd hours, undergoing rigorous training, landing on runways characterized by poor visibility, constantly checking a truckload of instruments, and working in sync with air traffic control. And before we forget, there are hundreds of souls on board, all trusting that you make the right decisions. The pressure. So, while soaring through the skies can be fun, being in charge is brutally demanding. From the outside, being a pilot ranks as the perfect job. Respect, adrenaline, control, and travel seem to be its focal points. However, reality is a different ballgame. Behind every successful pilot is an individual who works long hours, takes split-second decisions, endures an irregular sleep schedule, and has excellent mental focus. Pilots train for every scenario possible, the popular and niche variants inclusive. Still, each flight is different from the last. Inclement weather, mechanical issues, human error, and fatigue don't have a definitive schedule and can crop up when you least expect. While passengers are strapped to their seats, sipping soda and watching blockbuster movies, the pilot is constantly calculating and monitoring. There are always steps ahead of every situation. This stems from the fact that flying a plane requires precision. It isn't a simulation where countless chances are allowed. You've got to steer the aircraft right at over 600 miles per hour under pressure and not crack under it. When you get your pilot's license, you can scoot over to any airline of your choice and start flying planes to different countries, right? Well, you couldn't have been any more wrong. Getting your license is just a prelude of things to come. Pilots undergo rigorous training. As one, you need to take on simulator checks, line checks, emergency drills, and regular exams. Your evaluation doesn't just revolve around how well you can fly. It also involves testing how great you are at making decisions under insane pressure. Pilot jobs are on the line every 6 months. This is the case because they've got to fulfill simulator checks. During these checks, they're tested on what they can do when things go wrong. Perfection is the desired result of these tests. Anything less could result in suspension or permanent termination. Flying is a profession that's constantly evolving. As such, staying current isn't optional, but a must, as complacency has no place in the aviation world. Let's move on to one of the most underestimated areas of every pilot's life: fatigue. When you fly across varying time zones, stay awake at odd hours, and make multiple decisions, your mood, sleep, and concentration tend to suffer in the long run. As a result, jet lag isn't just a minor inconvenience, it's something that impacts real-time focus and performance. There are laws that regulate working hours for pilots. According to ALPA, this timeline could range from 9 to 13 hours. Albeit a great rule, most pilots still experience exhaustion on a regular basis. Some consider it part and parcel of their daily routines. But in a bid to keep their jobs, they fly planes while exhausted and need to make life-saving decisions when needs be. Most people consider autopilot systems in aircraft to be on par with what you've got on Teslas. Just insert the spot you'd like to go, and you arrive at your destination with little to no effort. On aircrafts, autopilot works differently. The reality is that it's just another tool on the plane. For context, it's a tool that comes in handy to control the plane's altitude, direction, and speed. It typically comes in handy when the plane is cruising, flying in a straight line for several hours. However, there's a catch. Autopilot can't think on the pilot's behalf. It's the pilot's duty to monitor everything. They're constantly checking all the gauges, communicating with flight control, and updating flight routes if the needs arise. That said, autopilot can't make key decisions. For example, if a pilot encounters turbulence when in a flight, it's their duty to steer the plane to clear skies. While autopilot remains a great tool for pilots, it doesn't replace them. Think of it as an add-on integrated to manage the pilot's workload. These professionals need to remain alert even when things are going smoothly, because situations can go from peaceful to chaotic within seconds. As we've already established, pilots train for every possible emergency. However, there's one thing they don't say out loud. No matter how many times you've prepared for an emergency, it'll hit hard when it becomes reality with hundreds of souls on board. Emergencies don't seem overly dramatic on the surface. It could be a small warning light, a weird vibration, or a gauge acting funny. These seemingly insignificant scenarios could lead to something disastrous if not controlled. Thus, it's the pilot's duty to stay calm and resolve the situation. Aircraft builds have advanced over the years. The latest versions are built to withstand a lot and make flights a tad easier for pilots, but regardless of how aircraft technology advances, there's one thing it can't fix, and that's human error. With the possibility of errors occurring, cockpit communication is non-negotiable. The pilot and the co-pilot must work together as a team by sharing information, validating each other's decisions, and airing their thoughts when they feel something's off. The most difficult part of being a pilot isn't just about flying. Sometimes it's just about having the nerves to challenge your co-pilot and admitting when they've made the wrong decision. Well, this is the case because silence could prove disastrous when things go amiss mid-flight. Being a pilot isn't just about monitoring gauges and moving the yoke left and right. It involves being responsible for the souls on board. Just think about it. Some flights have hundreds of passengers. While some are sleeping and watching movies, others are nervously biting their fingernails. Regardless of the category, everyone's trusting that you make the right decisions and fly them to the destination without incident. Well, that's a huge responsibility to have on your shoulders. And you've got to bear it during all parts of the flight. We're talking takeoff, landing, and every other on-air decision that's made. Most passengers will never be able to tell the major decisions their pilots had to make during the course of the flight. They'll never hear about any instrument clusters being incorrect, bird strikes, or momentary pressure losses. And that's how it should be all the time, because when a pilot is good at what they do, everything feels normal from start to finish. Just know that behind the air of normalcy are individuals doing things to ensure the safety of every passenger. This responsibility does not stop after the flight. It becomes the bane of their personalities. Flying a plane from one place to another requires technical skills. However, note that emotions tend to arise during this activity. Pilots miss holidays like Christmas and New Year's. These professionals miss their birthdays and those of their loved ones. They're gone for several days at a time, sleeping alone, not being able to connect to their families and intimate partners. This scenario takes its toll after some time. After they've successfully driven planes into their respective hangars, things become quiet and pilots get lonely. What's more, regardless of the emotional turmoil they're going through, they've still got to keep a calm and collected demeanor when they resume duty. There's little to no room to tell someone something like, "I'm lonely, I'm stressed out, and I'm struggling." To avoid the emotional roller coaster that's affecting their everyday jobs, pilots now resort to building connections with friends within the industry and their coworkers. However, forging connections isn't easy, especially for those leading an introverted lifestyle. So, while flying might seem glorious on TV, the emotional ups and downs involved are something that only a select few can handle. Flying is a beautiful thing. It shrinks the world, taking people past thousands of miles within mere hours. In fact, it's considered a miracle. However, behind every successful flight is a pilot who has endured long hours of training, stayed calm and collected under pressure, and shouldered a responsibility that only few can carry. So, the next time you're in a plane's cabin, take a moment to think about the people seated in the cockpit and what they do to ensure that you've got a seamless flight. Did this video give you a fresh perspective of what pilots really go through in their jobs and daily lives? If yes, kindly hit the like and subscribe for a steady dose of behind-the-scenes insights in the aviation world. Have you got insights or experience to share with the uninitiated? Do well to leave a comment. Until next time, stay safe and keep looking up.